My wife has been locking our dead son's bedroom door every night for 3 years. At first, I thought it was grief, a mother's way of preserving the last place her child slept, of keeping his memory contained, safe, untouched. But it's more than that. I see it in her eyes when she pulls that door shut, when she turns the key, when she slips it into her pocket and walks away without looking back. It's not grief, it's fear. My name is Arthur Bennett. I'm 71 years old. I taught high school history for 40 years. I believe in facts, evidence, truth, and something about my son's death has never felt true. Michael died 3 years ago. Car accident on Highway 52, late at night. His car went off a bridge into the river. By the time they pulled the vehicle out, the body inside was badly burned, unrecognizable. The police said the gas tank exploded on impact, that Michael died instantly, that he didn't suffer. My wife, Claire, identified him by a birthmark on his left shoulder blade, a small crescent moon shape he'd had since birth. She went into that morgue alone, came out shaking, said yes, it was our son. Yes, we could proceed with funeral arrangements. We buried him a week later, closed casket. Everyone said it was for the best, that we didn't want to remember him that way, that we should remember Michael as he was, alive, smiling, whole. I never saw my son's body. Never got to say goodbye to his face. Just a wooden box we lowered into the ground. And for 3 years, I've lived with that. The not knowing, the not seeing, the having to take everyone's word that my boy was really in that coffin. Claire hasn't been the same since. None of us have, but her grief is different, obsessive, controlling. She keeps Michael's room exactly as he left it. Bed made, clothes in the closet, books on the shelf, baseball trophies from high school gathering dust on the dresser. That part I understand. That's normal. Parents do that. Keep shrines to children they've lost. But the locking? The paranoia about anyone going in there? The way she guards that key like it's the only thing keeping her alive? That's not normal. Arthur, could you help me with dinner? Claire's voice pulled me from my thoughts. I was sitting in my armchair, the same chair I'd sat in every evening for 20 years, staring at the hallway, at Michael's closed door, at the lock that kept secrets I was desperate to uncover. Arthur? Yes, coming. I went to the kitchen. Claire was making pot roast. Michael's favorite. She made it every Sunday, had for 3 years. Set a place for him at the table, even though he'd never sit there again. How was your day? She asked, not looking at me, focused on chopping carrots. Fine, quiet, read the paper, watched some news. That's good. We'd become experts at meaningless conversation, at filling silence without saying anything real, without touching the grief that sat between us like a third person at every meal. Claire, I started, careful, gentle. Have you thought about maybe opening Michael's room, letting some air in? It's been 3 years. No. Sharp, final. The knife stopped mid-chop. We're not discussing this again. I just think it might help, with the grief, with moving forward. I don't want to move forward. I want to keep my son's room exactly as it was. Is that so wrong? No. But locking it every night? Refusing to let anyone in? Even me? That seems what? Crazy? Is that what you think? That I'm crazy? I didn't say that. But you think it. She turned to face me. Her eyes were red. Always red lately. From crying or lack of sleep or something else, I couldn't tell. You think I'm losing my mind, that I need help, that I'm too attached to a dead boy's bedroom. He was our son, not just some boy, and I miss him too. But Claire, this isn't healthy. The locking, the secrecy. What are you protecting in there? His memory, his space, the last place he was ours before the world took him. The world didn't take him. A car accident did. A tragedy, not some conspiracy. You don't understand. Then help me understand. Let me in, literally. Let me into that room. Let me see what you see. Feel what you feel. No. She turned back to the carrots, started chopping again. Faster, harder. That room is mine. My grief is mine. You can have the rest of the house, the rest of our life. But that room belongs to me and Michael. I wanted to argue, to push, to demand she let me in. But 40 years of marriage had taught me when to back down, when to wait, when to find another way. So I helped with dinner. We ate in silence. She set Michael's place, put food on his plate, left it there until it got cold, then scraped it into the trash and washed his dish. Every single night. The same ritual, the same grief on display. After dinner, she went upstairs. I heard her footsteps, heard Michael's door open, heard her moving around inside, straightening things, probably, talking to him, maybe. Then the door closed. The lock clicked. Her footsteps retreated to our bedroom. I waited, gave her time to settle, to fall asleep or pretend to sleep or whatever she did in there alone. Then I went upstairs, stood outside Michael's door, put my hand on the knob, tested it, locked, as always. Welcome to Elder Justice Revenge Stories. Could you please tell us where you're watching from? And if this is your first time visiting this page, kindly subscribe and turn the notification bell on so you don't miss out on other stories. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this one ends. I pressed my ear to the door, listened. Nothing, just silence. Just a room that shouldn't need locking but was locked anyway. "What are you hiding in there?" I whispered. "What don't you want me to see?" No answer, just my own breathing, my own heartbeat, my own growing certainty that something was very, very wrong. I went to bed, lay next to Claire in the darkness. She was facing away from me, perfectly still, pretending to sleep. "I love you," I said to her back. No response. "I miss him too. Every day, every moment. He was my son too." Still nothing. But we can't live like this forever, locked in grief, locked out of truth. Something has to change. She rolled over, looked at me in the darkness. Her face was wet with tears. "Nothing can change," she whispered. "Nothing ever can. Promise me you won't try to change anything." "What are you talking about?" "Promise me, Arthur. Promise me you'll leave Michael's room alone, that you'll let me handle it, that you'll trust me. Claire. Please, promise me." There was desperation in her voice, terror even. Like my touching that room would end the world. "I promise," I lied. She kissed my cheek, rolled back over. Within minutes, her breathing evened out. She was asleep, or pretending. I couldn't tell anymore, but I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I was breaking into that room. Tomorrow. While Claire was out at her book club, while the house was mine and the secrets were vulnerable, I was going to see what my wife was hiding, what she was protecting, what she feared so much that she locked it away every night for 3 years. Because 40 years of teaching history had taught me one fundamental truth. People don't hide things unless there's something worth hiding. And I was going to find out what that something was. Tuesday afternoons, Claire went to book club. Every week, 2 to 4 p.m. like clockwork. She'd been going for 15 years, never missed, even after Michael died, especially after Michael died. "It's the only thing that keeps me sane," she'd said. I'd always thought that was the grief talking, but now I wondered if it was something else, a regular escape, a scheduled absence, time away from the house and the secrets it held. At 1:30, she started getting ready, put on her nice blouse, fixed her hair, grabbed her purse and her book. "I'll be back by 4:30, she said. "There's leftover pot roast in the fridge for lunch." "Have fun." "It's not fun, it's survival." She kissed my cheek, a habit, nothing more. "Don't wait up if I'm late. Sometimes we go for coffee after." "I won't." She left. I watched from the window until her car disappeared down the street. Then I went to the garage, found my toolbox, selected a flathead screwdriver and a hammer. Breaking into a bedroom in my own house felt wrong, like violating a sacred space, like proving Claire right about me not being trustworthy. But I needed to know, needed to see, needed to understand why a locked door had become the center of my wife's entire existence. I went upstairs, stood outside Michael's door. The lock was simple, a basic interior door lock, the kind meant for privacy, not security. I could break it, easily, but Claire would know, would see the damage, would know I'd violated her trust. I hesitated, hand on the screwdriver, heart pounding. "I'm sorry," I whispered, to Claire, to Michael, to the universe. "But I have to know." I wedged the screwdriver between the door and the frame, right at the latch, applied pressure. The wood was old, soft. It gave easily. The lock popped. The door swung open. I expected a shrine, photos, candles, flowers, the kind of memorial desperate parents build to dead children. What I found was worse. The room looked normal, exactly as Michael had left it. Bed made, desk organized, posters on the wall, just like Claire said. But there was more. Recent things. Things that shouldn't be there. A newspaper on the desk, dated 6 months ago, folded open to the classified section. Apartment listings circled in red pen. A receipt from a gas station, dated 8 months ago, from a town 300 miles away. And photos, recent photos, printed on regular paper, not professional, just snapshots. I picked one up. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. Michael, or someone who looked exactly like Michael, standing in front of a small house, smiling. Older than I remembered, his hair longer, a beard I'd never seen, but the same eyes, the same crooked smile, the same birthmark visible on his left arm where his t-shirt sleeve ended. The photo was dated in the corner, 18 months ago, 18 months after we'd buried him. I grabbed another photo, Michael with a woman I didn't recognize, his arm around her, both smiling, dated 1 year ago. Another photo, Michael at a beach, tan, healthy, alive, dated 9 months ago. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what I was seeing. My son was alive. My son, who we'd buried 3 years ago, was alive in these photos, living somewhere, with someone, under some other name, probably. And Claire knew, had known, had been hiding it, locking these photos away every night, protecting the secret that our son hadn't died at all. I sat on Michael's bed, the photos spread around me, evidence of the biggest lie I'd ever been told. Why? Why would they do this? Why would Michael fake his death? Why would Claire help him? Why would they let me grieve for 3 years for a son who was alive, somewhere, living his life without me? I heard a noise downstairs, a door closing. Claire's voice. "Arthur, are you home?" She was back, 3 hours early. She never came home early. Unless she knew. Unless she'd sensed something. Unless some instinct had told her to check, to make sure the room was still locked, still secret, still safe. "Arthur." I looked at the broken lock, at the photos spread across the bed, at the evidence I couldn't hide fast enough. She was coming up the stairs. I could hear her footsteps. Faster now. Running. "Arthur, where are you?" She reached the top of the stairs, saw Michael's door open, saw me inside, saw the photos in my hands. Her face went white, then red, then crumpled completely. "No," she whispered. "Oh God, no. Arthur, please. You weren't supposed to. You promised. He's alive." My voice sounded strange, hollow, like someone else was speaking. "Our son is alive. Arthur, you lied to me. For 3 years. Let me grieve. Let me bury an empty coffin. Let me think my son was dead when he's been alive this whole time. You don't understand. Then make me understand." I stood, the photos clutched in my shaking hands. Make me understand how a mother lets a father mourn a living child, how a wife lies to a husband for 3 years, how any of this makes sense. "It was to protect him," Claire was crying now, full sobs. "To save his life. Arthur, he was going to die, really die, and this was the only way." "What are you talking about?" "Michael had debts, bad debts, to dangerous people, drug dealers, loan sharks. They were going to kill him. They told him they would. Gave him 2 weeks to come up with $50,000, or they'd kill him." I stared at her. "Drugs?" "For 2 years. Cocaine, pills, anything he could get. He was addicted, desperate, borrowing money he couldn't repay. And when they came to collect..." She couldn't finish, just stood there crying. "So you helped him fake his death." "It was my brother's idea. Thomas, he works at the county morgue. He had access to bodies, unidentified people. He found someone. Same build as Michael, same general features. And when Michael's car went into that river, there was someone else in it. Someone who really did die. A homeless man, no family, no one to miss him. Thomas said it was mercy, that the man was dying anyway, that he died in his sleep before the accident, that Michael just used the body to stage the accident. And the insurance, the $500,000, her face told me everything. You collected life insurance on our living son. We needed the money to pay off Michael's debts, to give him a fresh start, to keep him alive. Where is he? Arthur, where is he? Arizona, living under a new name, working construction. He's clean, sober, building a life. He's happy, Arthur. For the first time in years, our son is happy. And you visit him, the book club, the late nights, the business trips you've taken, all lies, all visits to our son who's supposed to be dead. I'm his mother. I couldn't just abandon him, but you could abandon me. The words came out cold, hard. You could let me grieve, let me suffer, let me think I'd lost my only child, while you knew the truth, while you visited him, while you kept me locked out of his life completely. I wanted to tell you so many times, but Michael made me promise. He said you'd never understand, that you'd turn him in, that you'd choose principle over protecting him. He was right. I would choose principle, because what you did is fraud. It's conspiracy. It's probably 6 other crimes. Someone died in that car, Claire, a real person. And you and Michael and Thomas used his body like a prop, like he didn't matter, like his life was worth less than Michael's convenience. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me. Make me understand how the woman I've loved for 40 years became someone who could lie to my face every single day for 3 years. She couldn't answer, just stood there crying, broken, caught. I looked at the photos again, my son, alive, smiling, living a life I wasn't part of, a life built on lies and fraud, and a nameless dead man in a coffin with Michael's name on it. I need you to leave, I said quietly. Arthur, get out of this room, out of my sight. I can't look at you right now. Please, let me explain. Let me make you understand. There's nothing to understand. You chose Michael over me, over truth, over everything we built together. And I need you to leave me alone while I decide what to do about it. She left. I heard her go downstairs, heard her crying in the living room, heard her pain and her fear and her regret. But I felt nothing, just numbness, just the cold realization that everything I'd believed for 3 years was a lie. My son wasn't dead, my wife wasn't trustworthy, my life wasn't real. And I had a choice to make. Protect the lie. Keep the secret. Let Michael live his new life and pretend I didn't know. Or expose the truth. Call the police, report the fraud, and watch my entire family go to prison for what they'd done. I sat in my dead son's room that wasn't dead at all and tried to decide what kind of man I was. A father who protected his child no matter what, or a man who believed in truth no matter the cost. I spent the night in Michael's room. Couldn't bring myself to sleep in the bed I shared with a woman who'd lied to me for 3 years. I went through everything, every drawer, every box. Every corner of the room Claire had locked away. Found more evidence, so much more. Bank statements, hidden in a shoebox under the bed. An account I'd never seen. Claire's name on it. Deposits and withdrawals going back 3 years. The insurance payout, $500,000. Deposited 8 months after Michael's death. After the investigation closed. After the claim was approved. And the withdrawals. Regular payments, $3,000 every month. Sent to a Western Union location in Phoenix, Arizona. $3,000 a month for 36 months. $108,000 sent to our living son while I thought he was dead. There were letters, too. Printed emails, actually. Claire must have printed them and hidden them here. Communications between her and Michael. I read them all. Every word, every lie. Mom, I'm doing better. The construction job is good. I'm making friends. Thank you for the money. I couldn't do this without you. Michael, I'm so proud of you. Stay strong. Stay clean. Your father asks about you sometimes. It breaks my heart not to tell him. Don't tell him. He wouldn't understand. He'd want me to turn myself in, to face consequences. But Mom, I can't go to prison. I can't. I know, baby. I'll keep protecting you. Always. Baby. She still called him baby. My 35-year-old son who'd faked his death and committed fraud. I found more photos, dozens of them. Michael's new life documented in pictures. His apartment, his job site, his new friends. A woman who appeared in several photos. Pretty, young, smiling at my son like he was her whole world. Did she know? Did this woman know she was dating a dead man? Someone with a fake identity? Or was she another victim of Michael's lies? I found a burner phone, hidden in a hollowed-out book on the shelf, old spy novel, fitting. I turned it on. The battery was dead. I found a charger in the drawer, plugged it in, waited. When it powered up, I saw the contacts, just 2 numbers, M and T, Michael and Thomas, Claire's secret communication network. I opened the text messages, months of conversations, planning, coordinating, lying. Claire, he's asking questions again, about the locked door. M, don't let him in, no matter what. Claire, I won't, but he's suspicious. What if he breaks in? T, he won't. Arthur's too principled, too rule-following. He'd never break into a locked room. They'd underestimated me, thought my principles made me weak, made me blind, made me controllable. They were wrong. I read through more messages. Found the planning stages, the conversations from 3 years ago when they'd hatched this scheme. T. I found a candidate, John Doe from the river, no ID, no family, died of exposure last week, still in cold storage. M. Jesus, Thomas, are you serious? T. You want to live? This is how. We stage the accident, use the body, I sign the death certificate, you disappear. Simple. M. And Dad? Claire. I'll handle your father. He can't know. He'd never agree. We tell him you're dead. Let him grieve. It's kinder than watching you actually die. Kinder. She'd called lying to me for 3 years, kinder than the truth. I found the accident report on the phone. Photos Thomas had taken, the burned car, the charred body, unrecognizable, just like they'd planned. My stomach turned. I ran to the bathroom, threw up everything in me. Grief, rage, betrayal, all of it purging from my body in violent waves. When I finally stopped, I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked old, ancient, like I'd aged a decade in one night. The man staring back at me had believed in truth, in honesty, in the fundamental goodness of people he loved. That man was gone, replaced by someone who knew better, who understood that love didn't guarantee honesty, that family didn't mean loyalty, that 40 years of marriage could be built on lies. I went back to Michael's room, gathered all the evidence, the photos, the bank statements, the phone, the letters, everything. I needed to organize it, understand the full scope of the fraud, figure out who else was involved and how deep the conspiracy went, because this wasn't just Claire and Michael and Thomas. This was identity theft, insurance fraud, improper use of a corpse, false death certificate, probably a dozen other crimes. And I needed to decide what to do with this knowledge. Claire was still downstairs. I could hear her moving around, making coffee, pretending it was a normal morning, like her world hadn't just shattered. Or maybe her world hadn't shattered. Maybe she was relieved. Maybe keeping this secret had been eating her alive, and now that I knew, some weight had lifted. I didn't care about her relief. I cared about the truth, about justice, about the unnamed man who'd been buried under my son's name, about his family, if he had one, who never got closure, who never knew what happened to him. I went downstairs. Claire was at the kitchen table, coffee in front of her, untouched. Her eyes were red, swollen. She'd been crying all night. We need to talk, I said. I know. Everything. I want to know everything, from the beginning. No more lies. Okay. I sat across from her, the kitchen table where we'd had thousands of meals, thousands of conversations, thousands of normal moments in a marriage I'd thought was solid. When did Michael's drug problem start? 5 years ago, maybe longer. I didn't notice at first. He hid it well. But then he started asking for money. Small amounts at first, then larger. He said he had car trouble, medical bills, emergency expenses. I believed him. You never told me. I didn't want you to worry, didn't want you to think less of him. You were so proud of him. Your son, the architect, building a career, building a life. I didn't want to ruin that image, so you enabled him instead. I was trying to help him, trying to protect him from consequences, from reality, from growing up and facing his choices. She didn't deny it, just sat there looking miserable. When did it get bad enough to require faking his death? 2 years before the accident, he owed $60,000 to a dealer named Ramon. Dangerous man, connected to cartels. Ramon gave Michael 2 weeks to pay. Said if he didn't, they'd kill him. Make it painful. Make it public. Michael came to you, to me and Thomas, begged for help, said he'd tried everything, that he was out of options, that he was going to die. So Thomas suggested using a body from the morgue. Not at first. At first we tried to raise the money. I emptied our savings, $20,000. It wasn't enough. Thomas contributed $10,000. Still not enough. We were desperate. Then Thomas said he had an idea, a way to make Michael disappear, start over, and get the money to pay Ramon at the same time. The life insurance, $500,000, enough to pay the debt and give Michael a fresh start. Thomas said it was perfect, that no one would suspect, that people die in car accidents every day. And the body, the real person who died, did you ask about him? Did you care who he was? Thomas said he was a homeless man, no family, no ID, dead from exposure, that we were giving him a burial he wouldn't have gotten otherwise, that it was almost noble. Noble? I laughed, bitter, hollow. Using a dead man's body to commit fraud is noble. I know how it sounds, but Arthur, I was losing my son, my only child, and I had to choose between watching him die or helping him live. What would you have done? I would have called the police, helped Michael turn himself in, faced the consequences together as a family. They would have killed him in prison. Ramon has connections everywhere. Michael wouldn't have survived a month. Maybe. Maybe not. But at least it would have been legal, honest, the right thing. The right thing would have gotten our son killed. Our son is a criminal, Claire. He committed fraud. He's living under a stolen identity. He let us bury a stranger under his name. That's not a good person making a mistake. That's a criminal making choices. He's our son. He was our son. The boy we raised is gone. Dead, maybe. Replaced by someone I don't know. Someone who cares more about his own convenience than truth, than family, than the nameless man whose grave says Michael Bennett when it should say something else. Claire started crying again. I never meant to hurt you. I thought I was protecting everyone. Michael from death. You from the knowledge that our son was that far gone, that he'd made such terrible choices. You don't protect someone by lying to them. You protect them by trusting them with the truth, by letting them help carry the burden, by being partners instead of adversaries. We are partners. We were partners. Before you chose Michael over me, before you locked me out of the truth, before you decided I couldn't be trusted with reality. What are you going to do? The question hung between us, heavy, loaded, life-changing. I don't know yet. Arthur, please, think about Michael. Think about our family. Think about what going to the police would do. I'm thinking about the man in Michael's grave, about his family if he has one, about justice for someone who couldn't speak for himself. He was already dead. He didn't need justice. Everyone deserves justice, even the homeless, even the nameless, even the forgotten. I stood, walked to the window, looked out at the street where we'd lived for 30 years, where Michael had played as a child, where we'd built a life I'd thought was honest. "I need time," I said, "to process this, to decide what kind of man I am, what kind of father, what kind of husband." "How much time?" "I don't know. Days, weeks, however long it takes." "And in the meantime?" "In the meantime, you stay out of Michael's room. You don't contact him, you don't warn him, you don't destroy evidence, you do nothing while I figure this out." "Arthur, those are my terms. Accept them or I call the police right now." She nodded, defeated, scared. Good. She should be scared. She'd committed serious crimes. So had Michael. So had Thomas. They should all be scared. I went back upstairs, back to Michael's room, closed the door. But I didn't lock it. The secrets were out now. The truth was loose. Locking the door wouldn't change that. I sat on the bed, surrounded by evidence of my son's new life, and I tried to figure out what to do next. I spent the next week in Michael's room. Claire brought me food, left it outside the door, knocked quietly and walked away. I barely ate, barely slept, just studied the evidence, built a timeline, understood exactly how they'd pulled off the fraud. The insurance policy had been taken out 7 years ago, $500,000, paid monthly. Claire was the beneficiary. I'd signed the papers, barely read them, trusted Claire to handle our finances, our insurance, our future. That trust had been weaponized against me. The claim was filed 9 days after the accident. Claire had waited the appropriate amount of time. Didn't want to seem too eager, too calculating. The investigation took 6 months, standard for accidental death. They interviewed Claire, interviewed Thomas, who'd signed the death certificate, interviewed Michael's friends, who all confirmed he'd been struggling, depressed, drinking heavily. All lies, all coordinated, all designed to sell the story that Michael had been in a dark place, that the accident, while tragic, wasn't entirely surprising. The payout came through. Claire deposited it into a secret account, started sending monthly payments to Michael through Western Union. Untraceable. Smart. She'd thought of everything. Or Thomas had. Someone had planned this carefully. I pulled up the bank records on my laptop, traced every transaction, found something interesting. The monthly payments to Michael weren't the only withdrawals. There were others, large ones, $50,000 withdrawn 8 months after the insurance payout. Wire transfer to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, another $75,000 6 months later. Same type of transfer, different account. Someone was taking money, lots of it, and it wasn't going to Michael. I went downstairs, found Claire in the living room, watching TV, some cooking show, not really watching, just staring. "Who's taking money from the insurance account?" She looked up. "What?" "Large withdrawals, offshore accounts. That's not Michael's rent money. That's something else. Who's stealing from the life insurance payout?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie to me." "Not anymore. I have the bank records. I can see every transaction. Someone's moving money, and I want to know who." She turned off the TV, faced me. "It's Thomas." "Your brother?" "He said helping us had put him at risk, that he could lose his job, his medical license, that he deserved compensation." "Compensation? He extorted you?" "He helped us. He took a huge risk. He deserved something. He deserved to go to prison, along with you and Michael, but instead he got paid $125,000 to commit fraud." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like? Because from where I'm standing, your brother is a criminal who helped stage a death, used a corpse illegally, signed a false death certificate, and then blackmailed you into paying him off. He didn't blackmail me. He just said the money would help secure his silence. Make sure he never had regrets, never talked. That's literally blackmail, Claire. He's extorting you, and you're paying him with insurance money we got by committing fraud. What are you going to do? I'd been asking myself that question for a week, turning it over in my mind, wrestling with principles and love and justice and family. I'm going to visit Thomas. Arthur, no. I'm going to hear his side, understand his involvement, see if he has any justification for what he's done. He'll deny everything. He'll say I'm lying, that the money was gifts, that he had nothing to do with Michael's death. Then let him try. Let me look him in the eye and see if he can sell that lie. I drove to Thomas's house. He lived 30 minutes away. Nice neighborhood. House probably worth $400,000. Cars in the driveway probably worth another $100,000 combined, all funded by fraud. I rang the doorbell. Thomas answered. He was 65, retired from the county morgue 2 years ago, living off his pension and his extortion money. Arthur. He looked surprised, then concerned. Is everything okay? Can I come in? Sure, of course. He led me to his living room, offered coffee. I declined. What brings you by? He asked. Casual, friendly, like he hadn't helped fake my son's death. I found out about Michael. His face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Michael's alive. You helped him fake his death, used a corpse from the morgue, signed a false death certificate, collected money from Claire for your trouble. Arthur, this is crazy talk. I have evidence, photos of Michael alive. Bank records showing payments to him, messages between you and Claire planning the whole thing. Don't insult me by denying it. He sat back, studied me. What are you going to do? I haven't decided yet, but I want to hear your justification, why you thought this was okay, why you betrayed me, your brother-in-law, your friend. I was saving Michael's life. By ending someone else's, by using a dead man like a prop, by committing multiple felonies. The man was already dead. He had no family, no one to mourn him. We gave him a proper burial, a name on a headstone. That's more than he would have gotten otherwise. His name isn't on that headstone. Michael's is. That man is buried anonymously, his real identity lost forever. His family, if he has one, will never know what happened to him. Sometimes the greater good requires difficult choices. The greater good? You mean saving a drug addict from consequences while committing fraud for profit? That's your greater good? Michael is my nephew. I love him. When Claire came to me desperate, begging for help, what was I supposed to do? Let him die? Help him face reality, face justice, face consequences like an adult, not help him run away and commit crimes. Easy for you to say. You weren't the one who had to watch him beg for his life, who had to see the terror in his eyes when he talked about what Ramon's people would do to him. So you took the easy way, the illegal way, and then you blackmailed Claire for $125,000. I didn't blackmail her. She offered the money. Said I deserved compensation for the risk I was taking. And you took it, gladly. Used it to fund your retirement, your cars, your comfortable life. I earned it. You stole it from an insurance company, using a fraud you orchestrated. That's not earning, Thomas. That's theft. What do you want from me, Arthur? An apology? Confession? What? I want to know if you have any remorse, any guilt, any understanding that what you did was wrong. He thought about it. then shook his head. No, I saved my nephew's life. I helped my sister keep her son. I'd do it again. Even knowing it was illegal, immoral, wrong. Sometimes wrong is right. Sometimes the law doesn't account for real-world complexity. I made a choice. I stand by it. Then you'll stand by it in court, when I report this, when investigators dig into your finances, when you face charges for everything you've done. You won't report it, because that means destroying Claire, destroying Michael, destroying your own family. Maybe not, but you should know that I'm considering it, seriously considering it, because someone needs to pay for that nameless man in Michael's grave. Someone needs to answer for the fraud, the lies, the betrayal. Arthur, please, think about your family. Think about what exposing this will do. I've thought about nothing else for a week, and I still haven't decided. But Thomas, you should be worried. Very worried. Because the man you thought you knew, the one too principled to break into a locked room, he's changing, learning, becoming someone new, someone who might just choose truth over family. I left, drove home. Claire was waiting. How did it go? He has no remorse, no guilt. He'd do it all again. He said as much. What does that mean? It means I'm closer to a decision, closer to knowing what kind of man I am, what kind of father, what kind of husband. And you should prepare yourself for the possibility that I choose principle over protection, truth over family, justice over love. You would really send your own son to prison? Your own wife? I don't know, but I'm beginning to think I might, because the alternative is living with this lie, carrying this secret, being complicit in fraud and theft and the disrespect of a dead man who deserved better. I went back upstairs, back to Michael's room, back to the evidence that would either stay hidden or destroy everything I'd ever loved, and I still didn't know which choice I'd make. I couldn't stop thinking about the funeral, about the closed casket, about the rushed burial, about all the things that hadn't felt right at the time, but I'd dismissed as grief playing tricks on my mind. Now I knew better. Now I understood. Those feelings had been instinct, truth trying to break through the lies. I pulled out the funeral documents, found them in a box in the garage. Claire had saved everything: the death certificate, the coroner's report, the burial permit, the funeral home receipts, all signed by Thomas, all official looking, all completely fraudulent. The death certificate listed cause of death as blunt force trauma and thermal injuries due to motor vehicle accident. Signed by Dr. Thomas Wright, County Medical Examiner. The coroner's report was more detailed, described the condition of the body. Severe burns covering approximately 85% of body surface, facial features unrecognizable, identification confirmed via birthmark on left shoulder blade matching known characteristics of deceased. Claire had identified the body, alone. She'd insisted on going alone. Said she didn't want me to see Michael that way. Said she wanted to protect me from the trauma. I'd let her, trusted her, believed she was being strong for both of us. But she'd been protecting the lie, making sure I never saw the body that wasn't Michael, never got close enough to notice inconsistencies, never had a chance to question anything. The funeral had been rushed, 4 days from death to burial. Claire said she couldn't stand the thought of Michael in the morgue, said she wanted him at peace, wanted to say goodbye and start healing. I'd agreed. Anything to ease her pain, anything to help her cope. The funeral director had recommended cremation, said given the condition of the body, it might be easier. More dignified. Claire had refused, insisted on burial, said she needed a place to visit, a grave to tend, a physical location where our son rested. At the time, I'd thought it was sweet, a mother's need to stay connected to her child. Now I understood. Cremation would have destroyed the evidence, would have made it impossible to ever verify the body's identity. Burial meant the evidence remained, meant someday, if anyone ever looked, they might discover the truth. Did Claire know that? Did she keep the body intact on purpose, as insurance, as a way to eventually clear Michael's name if things went wrong? Or did she just not think that far ahead? I called the funeral home. Reynolds and Sons. We'd used them for my parents' funerals. For Claire's mother. They knew our family. Reynolds and Sons, how may I help you? This is Arthur Bennett. You handled my son Michael's funeral 3 years ago. Yes, Mr. Bennett, I remember. I'm so sorry for your loss. How can I help you today? I have some questions about the arrangements, about the body. Of course. What would you like to know? The body was badly burned, correct? Unrecognizable? Yes, sir. That's what the medical examiner's report indicated. Did you see the body? Personally? I did. It was in very poor condition. We recommended against viewing, suggested a closed casket service. And my wife identified the body. Yes, Mrs. Bennett came to the morgue with Dr. Wright. She confirmed the identification based on a birthmark. Was anyone else present? Any other witnesses? No, sir. Just Mrs. Bennett and Dr. Wright. Is there a problem? I'm trying to understand the timeline. My son died on a Tuesday. The funeral was Friday. That's very fast for such a traumatic death. Mrs. Bennett was quite insistent. She wanted her son buried quickly, said she couldn't bear the thought of him in the morgue. We expedited the process as much as possible. And you never questioned the identification? Never asked for dental records or DNA confirmation? Sir, we relied on the medical examiner's office for identification. That's standard procedure. If Dr. Wright signed the death certificate, we had no reason to question it. Even with such severe burns? Even with the body being unrecognizable? Mr. Bennett, is there something specific you're concerned about? I wanted to tell him. Wanted to say my son might be alive, that the body might be someone else, that we might have buried the wrong person. But I wasn't ready. Not yet. Not until I knew for certain what I was going to do. No, just trying to process the grief. Thank you for your time. I hung up. My hands were shaking. The funeral director had seen the body, confirmed it was in poor condition, but he'd trusted Thomas's identification, trusted the system, trusted that a county medical examiner wouldn't lie. I needed to see that grave, needed to stand over it and confront the reality of what was buried there. I drove to Riverside Cemetery, found Michael's grave easily. I'd been there 100 times, every month for 3 years, bringing flowers, talking to the headstone, grieving my son. Michael James Bennett, beloved son, 1988, 2021. Gone too soon. I stared at the words, at the dates that were lies, at the headstone that marked the grave of a stranger. Who are you? I asked the ground. What was your name? Did you have family, friends, people who loved you? No answer. Just the wind through the cemetery trees, just the silence of the dead. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm sorry they used you. I'm sorry you're buried under the wrong name. I'm sorry no one knows you're here. A car pulled up behind me. I turned. Claire. She got out slowly, walked toward me, stopped a few feet away. "I knew you'd come here," she said. "Did you? You're trying to understand, trying to make sense of it all. I would too. Do you even know who's in there?" "No. Thomas never told me. Said it was better if I didn't know. Said I could grieve more authentically if I thought of him as Michael." "That's sick. You're standing over a stranger's grave, pretending it's our son, bringing flowers, talking to him, all while Michael is alive in Arizona. I know how it sounds. Do you? Do you understand how insane this is? How wrong? I was trying to keep the story consistent, to make it real, to make sure no one ever suspected. You were trying to convince yourself, to make the lie feel like truth, to ease your own guilt. Maybe. I don't know anymore. I don't know what's real and what's performance. I've been lying for so long I can't remember what truth feels like." I looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman I'd married 40 years ago. The woman I'd built a life with. The mother of my child. She looked old. Tired. Broken by secrets and lies and the weight of maintaining fiction. "We can't keep doing this," I said. "Living like this, lying like this. Something has to change." "I know. I want to see him." "Who?" "Michael. I want to see my son, face to face. I want to hear him tell me why he did this, why he let me grieve, why he thought this was okay." "Arthur, you visit him. You know where he is. You're going to take me there." "He doesn't want to see you. He said as much. He's afraid you'll turn him in." "He should be afraid. He committed serious crimes. But he's still my son, and I deserve to look him in the eye before I decide what to do." "When?" "This weekend. We'll drive to Arizona. You'll take me to wherever he's living, and we'll have this conversation. All of us, together. And then I'll decide. But Claire, you need to prepare yourself, and prepare Michael, because there's a very real possibility I'm going to report this, all of it. You, him, Thomas, everyone who participated in this fraud." "You'd really do that? Destroy your own family?" "My family destroyed itself. I'm just deciding whether to hide the evidence or expose it." That night, I made Claire sit down and tell me everything, every detail, every moment, every lie. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared 40 years of meals, of conversations, of life. "Start at the beginning," I said. "When did you first know Michael was in trouble?" 5 years ago, maybe longer. He started acting different, secretive, paranoid. He'd borrow money and never explain what it was for. He lost weight, stopped sleeping. All the signs were there. I just didn't want to see them." "When did you know it was drugs?" 3 years before the accident. I found cocaine in his apartment, confronted him. He broke down, admitted he'd been using for years, said he wanted to stop but couldn't, that he'd tried and failed. And you never told me. I thought I could fix it, get him into treatment, help him get clean. I didn't want you to know our son was an addict, didn't want to shatter your image of him. So you enabled him instead. I tried to help. I paid for rehab twice, went to family therapy sessions, did everything the counselors told me to do. But he kept relapsing, kept using, kept lying. How did he get in debt to drug dealers? He started buying larger quantities, selling to friends to fund his own habit. But he used the product instead of selling it, got behind on payments. The dealer started threatening him. Ramon. Yes, Ramon Martinez, connected to cartels in Mexico. Dangerous man. Michael owed him $60,000. Ramon gave him 2 weeks to pay. Said if he didn't, he'd kill Michael. Make it painful. Make it an example. When did Thomas get involved? Michael came to both of us, begging for help. He was terrified, crying, said he'd made terrible mistakes, but he didn't want to die, that he just needed money to pay off the debt and he'd get clean, he'd change, he'd be better. And you believed him. I wanted to believe him. He's my son, Arthur, my baby. I couldn't just let him die. So Thomas suggested faking his death. Not immediately. First, we tried to raise the money. I emptied our savings without telling you. 20,000. Thomas contributed 10. We were still 30,000 short. Michael was running out of time. Then Thomas said he had another option. Using a body from the morgue. He said there was a John Doe, homeless man who died of exposure, no family, no ID, no one looking for him. Thomas said we could use the body to stage an accident, make it look like Michael died, file an insurance claim, use the money to pay Ramon and give Michael a fresh start. And you agreed. I was desperate, terrified. My son was going to die in 2 days if we didn't do something. This seemed like the only option. It wasn't the only option. You could have gone to the police, protected Michael legitimately, let him face consequences, but kept him safe. Ramon has people in the police, people in the courts. Michael wouldn't have been safe anywhere in the system. This was the only way. So you planned it. Used the homeless man's body, staged the accident. Thomas handled most of it. He told us what to do, how to make it look real. Michael drove his car to the bridge. Thomas was there with the body. They set everything up, made it look like Michael lost control, went into the river. The car burned on impact. And you identified the body. Thomas took me to the morgue, showed me the body. It was horrible, burned beyond recognition. But there was a birthmark on the left shoulder, in the same place as Michael's. How? Thomas created it, burned the skin in that pattern to match Michael's, to make the identification believable. The revelation made me sick. Thomas had mutilated a corpse, created fake identifying marks, all to sell the lie. And I believed you, trusted you, grieved for 3 years while Michael was alive. I'm sorry. God, Arthur, I'm so sorry. But what choice did I have? Tell you the truth and risk you reporting it? Risk Michael going to prison or getting killed? I had to protect him. By betraying me, by lying to my face every single day, by watching me suffer while you knew the truth. It destroyed me too. Every time you cried, every time you visited the grave, every time you talked about missing him, it killed me not to tell you, not to ease your pain, but I'd made a promise to Michael, to keep him safe, to keep his secret. A promise to your son over your husband. That's the choice you made. Yes, and I'd make it again, because he's my child, and a mother protects her child, no matter what. Even when that child is a criminal, a coward, someone who let his father grieve unnecessarily, even then, if you've ever had to choose between family and truth, if you've ever discovered your loved ones were capable of unthinkable deception, comment with your torn heart emoji. Sometimes the hardest truths come from the people we trust most. We sat in silence, the weight of her confession heavy between us. The money, I said finally. The insurance payout. Where is it now? Most of it went to Ramon. 50,000 to clear Michael's debt. 20,000 to pay back what we'd borrowed from friends. Thomas took $125,000 for his help. The rest has been going to Michael, $3,000 a month for living expenses. So, of the $500,000, how much is left? Maybe $60,000 in the account for emergencies. For Michael if he needs it. Blood money, fraud money. Money we got by lying about our son's death. Money that kept him alive. Did it? Or did it just delay the inevitable? Michael hasn't faced consequences, hasn't gotten real help, hasn't changed. He's just running, hiding, living a lie in Arizona. That's not being alive. That's being a ghost. He's clean, sober, working an honest job, building a real life. That's more than he had before. Built on a foundation of lies, what happens when it collapses? When someone discovers who he really is? When his fake identity falls apart? It won't. Thomas made sure of that. New name, new social security number, new background. Michael is legally dead. Brian Matthews is legally alive. It's airtight. Nothing is airtight, especially not when 3 people know the truth. When evidence exists. When one person decides truth matters more than protection. You mean you? Yes, I mean me. What are you going to do? I told you, this weekend we're going to Arizona. I'm going to see Michael, hear his side, look him in the eye, and then I'll decide whether to protect him or expose him. And if you expose him, if you go to the police, then we all face consequences. You for fraud and conspiracy, Michael for fraud and identity theft, Thomas for abuse of a corpse and falsifying records, maybe others. I don't know all the charges yet, but serious ones. Prison time, probably. And you? What happens to you? I become a man who chose principle over family, truth over love, justice over protection. I become someone I can live with, someone who doesn't carry this lie for the rest of his life. I'd go to prison. You understand that? I do. And you'd be alone, no son, no wife, just you and your principles and your empty house. Maybe. Or maybe I'd be free. Free from lies. Free from secrets. Free from the weight of knowing my entire life is built on fraud. Arthur, please, don't do this. Think about Michael. Think about me. Think about our family. I've thought about nothing else for weeks, and I still don't know what I'll choose. But Claire, you need to understand something. The man you married, the one who trusted you blindly, who never questioned, who put family above everything, he's gone, destroyed by your lies, replaced by someone harder, colder, someone who might just choose truth over everything else. I don't recognize you anymore. Good, because I don't recognize you either. The woman I married wouldn't have lied to me for 3 years, wouldn't have helped our son commit fraud, wouldn't have chosen protection over honesty. You've become a stranger, someone I don't know, don't trust, don't love the same way. You don't love me? I don't know. I love who you were, who I thought you were. But this person, this woman who lies and schemes and protects criminals, I don't know if I can love her. Claire started crying, deep, broken sobs that shook her whole body. I felt nothing, no sympathy, no desire to comfort her, just cold clarity about what needed to happen next. Pack a bag, I said. We leave for Arizona Friday morning. We'll drive. Take our time. Give me time to think, to prepare, to decide what kind of man I'm going to be. And Michael, should I warn him? No. No warning. No preparing. He gets to face me unprepared, just like I face the truth unprepared. Fair is fair. He'll run. When we show up, he'll panic and run. Then I'll know everything I need to know, that he's still a coward, still running, still not ready to face what he's done. Please, Arthur, don't destroy our family. Our family destroyed itself. I'm just deciding whether to clean up the mess or hide it. I went upstairs, back to Michael's room, back to the evidence that would either stay hidden or destroy everything, and I still didn't know which choice I'd make. But Friday was coming. Arizona was waiting, and my son was about to face his father for the first time in 3 years. Face to face, truth to lies, father to son. And then I'd decide what kind of man I really was. Friday morning came too fast and too slow at the same time. Claire packed a small bag, moved like a robot, mechanical, defeated. She knew what was coming, knew this trip might end everything. I packed my evidence, the photos, the bank statements, the messages, all of it in a folder I'd carry with me, insurance, proof, ammunition if I needed it. We left at 6 a.m. The drive to Phoenix was 16 hours. We'd do it in 2 days. Stop overnight in New Mexico. Give me time to think, to prepare, to make my final decision. The first few hours were silent. Claire stared out the window. I focused on driving, neither of us willing to start a conversation we couldn't finish. Around noon, Claire finally spoke. "He's going to hate you for this." "I know. He's going to feel betrayed, ambushed. He'll never forgive you. Better than him thinking he got away with it. Better than him living the rest of his life as a lie. Is it better? Or is it just your need for control, for truth, for making everyone face consequences you deem appropriate? This isn't about control. It's about reality. Michael committed crimes, serious crimes. Someone has to acknowledge that. He's already acknowledged it. He's living with the guilt every day. He's working an honest job, staying sober, building a real life. Isn't that punishment enough? No, because it's based on fraud, on a stolen identity, on a dead man's grave that has the wrong name on it. Real redemption requires facing what you've done, not running from it. You're so sure you're right, so convinced your way is the only way. I'm not sure of anything, but I know right from wrong. And what you and Michael and Thomas did was wrong. Morally, legally, in every way that matters. We stopped for gas in New Mexico. Claire went to the bathroom, came back looking pale. "I called him," she admitted, "warned him we're coming. I told you not to do that. He's my son. I couldn't let him be ambushed. He deserves warning, preparation, a chance to decide if he wants to face you or run. If he runs, I'll know everything I need to know. And if he stays, if he agrees to meet you, what then? Then we talk. I listen to his justification, his reasoning, his excuse for letting me grieve for 3 years. And then I decide. He's scared, Arthur, terrified of what you'll do, terrified of prison, of losing his new life, of facing consequences he can't handle. He should have thought of that before faking his death. We drove in silence for another hour. Then Claire said something that surprised me. "I'm tired of lying." "What?" "I'm exhausted, carrying this secret, maintaining the fiction, visiting Michael and pretending everything is fine when it's not. I'm tired of being the person who did this, who chose this, who lives with this every day." "Then tell the truth, confess, face the consequences." "It's not that simple." "Why not? Walk into a police station, tell them everything, take whatever punishment comes. At least you'd be free from the lies." "I'd go to prison. Maybe, probably, but you'd be honest, finally, truly. No more locked doors, no more secrets, just truth." She started crying. "I don't know if I'm strong enough." "Then you'll find out, this weekend, when we confront Michael, when I make my decision, you'll discover what you're made of." We reached Phoenix Saturday morning. Claire directed me to a suburb called Mesa, small houses, working-class neighborhood, far from the life Michael had known. That one, Claire pointed to a beige house with a brown roof. He lives there. I parked across the street, studied the house, normal, unremarkable, a place where a man could disappear, become someone else, live a life built on lies. A truck was in the driveway, Ford F-150, dusty, used, working vehicle. Is he home? He should be. I told him we'd be here around 10. It's 10:15. Let's go. We walked to the front door. Claire knocked, soft, tentative, afraid. The door opened. A man stood there, 35 years old, longer hair, beard, tan from working outdoors, but the same eyes, the same nose, the same son I'd thought was dead. "Michael," I said, my voice cracked. "Dad." He didn't move, didn't invite us in. Just stood there blocking the door. "Mom said you were coming. Can we come in?" He hesitated, then stepped aside. "Yeah, sure." The house was small, sparsely furnished, living room, kitchen visible beyond, hallway leading to bedrooms. A woman appeared from the hallway, early 30s, pretty, concerned. "This is Amy," Michael said. "My girlfriend. Amy, these are my parents, Arthur and Claire." Amy looked confused. "I thought your parents were dead." "I lied," Michael said flatly. "About a lot of things. Can you give us some privacy?" "Michael, what's going on?" "Please, just go to the bedroom. I'll explain everything later." Amy left, shot me a worried look on the way. She didn't know. Michael had lied to her too, built a relationship on fiction. We sat in the living room, Michael across from us, defensive, scared. "You look good," I said. "Healthy." "I am healthy. Sober 3 years, working construction, making an honest living." Honest except for the fake identity, the stolen social security number, the insurance fraud. "I didn't steal the social security number. Thomas created it, made it legitimate. I'm legally Brian Matthews now." "You're legally a fraud, a criminal, a man who let his father grieve for 3 years while you hid." "I didn't want to hide from you. I wanted to tell you. Mom wouldn't let me." "Don't blame me," Claire said. "You're the one who said your father would never understand, that he'd turn you in." "Because he would have. Look at him. Look at his face. He's disgusted, angry. He's here to punish me, not understand me." "You're right," I said. "I am disgusted. I am angry, but I'm also hurt, devastated. You let me think you were dead, let me visit your grave, let me suffer, for 3 years. Why? Because I was saving my life. Ramon was going to kill me, torture me, make an example of me. I didn't have a choice. You had choices, you just didn't like any of them. So you took the easy way, the illegal way, the way that hurt everyone else while protecting yourself. The easy way. You think this has been easy? Living under a fake name, lying to everyone, looking over my shoulder constantly, never feeling safe, never feeling real? This has been hell, Dad, every single day. Good. You deserve hell. You committed serious crimes. You used a dead man's body. You let that man be buried under your name. Do you even know who he was? Do you care? Thomas said he was homeless, that he had no family, that no one would miss him. Everyone deserves to be missed. Everyone deserves their own name on their grave. You stole that from him, stole his dignity, his identity, his final resting place. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, but you did. You hurt me. You hurt that nameless man. You hurt everyone who loved you, who mourned you, who cried at your funeral. All for what? To escape consequences? To avoid facing what you'd done? To survive. What part of that don't you understand? I was going to die. Then you should have died honestly, faced Ramon, faced the police, faced consequences like a man instead of running like a coward. The words hung between us, harsh, final, true. Michael's face crumpled. You think I'm a coward? I think you made cowardly choices. I think you let fear drive you instead of principle. I think you became someone I don't recognize. And what are you going to do about it? Turn me in? Send me to prison? Destroy everything I've built? I don't know yet. You don't know? Dad, you drove 16 hours to confront me. You clearly have an agenda. So what is it? What do you want from me? I want to understand. I want to hear you justify what you've done. I want to know if you have any remorse, any guilt, any understanding that what you did was wrong. Of course I feel guilty. I hate what I did. I hate that you had to suffer. But I do it again because I'm alive. I'm sober. I'm building a real life. That wouldn't have happened if I'd faced Ramon. I'd be dead, or in prison, or still using. This was the only way I survived. Survival at any cost. That's your justification. Yes, and if you can't accept that, if you can't understand that, then do what you came here to do. Call the police, turn me in, destroy me. But know that you're choosing principle over your own son, rules over family, and you'll have to live with that choice for the rest of your life. I stood, walked to the window, looked out at this quiet neighborhood where my son lived a lie. I buried you, I said quietly, stood over your grave and said goodbye, cried until I had nothing left, wondered why you were taken from me, questioned God, questioned everything, and you were alive the whole time, living here, building this, while I suffered. I'm sorry. God, Dad, I'm so sorry. But I didn't know how to fix it, how to make it right, how to come back from the dead without destroying everything. You can't come back. That's the point. Michael Bennett is dead. Brian Matthews is alive, and never the two shall meet. You made that choice. Now you live with it. So what are you going to do? I turned to face him, my son, my stranger, my living ghost. I'm going to think. I'm going to pray. I'm going to wrestle with this decision. And tomorrow, I'll tell you what I've decided. Whether I protect you or expose you. Whether I choose family or truth. Tomorrow? We're staying at a hotel tonight. I'll come back tomorrow morning and I'll give you my answer. Until then, you should think too. About what you want, what you're willing to face, what kind of man you want to be. And if you decide to turn me in, then you'll face consequences. Finally, honestly, like you should have 3 years ago. I walked to the door. Claire followed. Michael stayed seated, broken, scared. I love you, I said. But I don't like you very much right now, and I don't know if I ever will again. I left, got in the car, drove to a hotel. Claire was silent the entire way, crying quietly, grieving the family that was falling apart, and I was one decision away from destroying it completely. I didn't sleep, just lay in the hotel bed, staring at the ceiling, wrestling with the impossible choice. Protect my son. Keep the secret. Let Michael live his new life. Preserve what was left of our family, or expose him. Report the fraud. Let justice take its course. Honor the truth, no matter the cost. Around 3 a.m., Claire whispered in the darkness, "What are you going to do?" I don't know. You have to know. You have to decide. We see him in a few hours. I keep thinking about that man, the homeless man, whoever he was. He's buried under Michael's name. No one knows he's there. No one mourns the real him. Just a fiction, a lie. He deserves better. He's dead, Arthur. He doesn't know, doesn't care. We don't know that, and even if we did, it doesn't make it right. Every person deserves dignity, even in death, especially in death. So you're going to destroy Michael's life for a dead stranger? I'm going to honor truth, wherever that leads. I'll lose you both. Michael to prison, you to principal. I'll be alone. You chose that. When you helped Michael fake his death, when you lied to me for 3 years, you chose this outcome. Now you live with it. I was trying to save my son. You were trying to avoid consequences. There's a difference. We lay in silence, waiting for dawn, waiting for the decision I still hadn't made. At 7 a.m., I got up, showered, dressed, went to the hotel lobby and found a quiet corner. I called Detective Linda Hayes. She'd worked in the fraud division when I'd done a ride-along years ago for a school project. We'd stayed in touch, Christmas cards, occasional coffee. Arthur Bennett? It's been years. How are you? Linda, I need advice, off the record, about a hypothetical fraud case. Hypothetical? Sure. What's the scenario? I told her everything, changing names, making it sound like someone else's story, a friend's situation, not mine. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. That's not hypothetical, is it? No. Arthur, if what you're describing is real, we're talking about multiple felonies, insurance fraud, use of a corpse, identity theft, false death certificate, conspiracy. Everyone involved would face serious prison time. How much time? 5 to 10 years minimum, maybe more depending on the judge, and the insurance company would sue for full restitution plus penalties. We're talking hundreds of thousands in legal fees and repayment. What if the person who discovered it didn't report it? What if they kept the secret? Then they become an accessory after the fact, complicit in the fraud. They could face charges too. So report it or become a criminal myself. Those are my options. Arthur, is this about Michael? I can't answer that. I'm going to need you to answer it, because if you're telling me about a real crime, I'm obligated to investigate. If you're telling me a hypothetical, I can give you advice and leave it at that. What would you do? In my position, I'd report it. Because fraud is fraud. Because justice matters. Because the victim, the dead man, deserves his identity back. His family, if he has one, deserves closure. Even if it means destroying your own family. Even then, because that family destroyed itself. You didn't commit the crimes, you just discovered them. What you do with that discovery defines what kind of man you are. That's what I'm afraid of. Arthur, I'm going to give you 24 hours. After that, if you don't call me back with a full report, I'm going to assume this was hypothetical. I'm going to forget we talked, but if you do call, I'll open an investigation. I'll bring in the authorities, and everyone involved will face justice. Your choice. 24 hours. 24 hours. I hung up, sat there processing. I'd set a timer on my own decision. 24 hours to choose. I went back to the room. Claire was awake, dressed, ready. We should go see him, she said. I know. We drove to Michael's house. He was waiting on the porch, looked like he hadn't slept either. Come in, he said. We sat in the living room. Amy was gone, probably at work, or maybe Michael had sent her away. I've been thinking, Michael started, about what you said, about the homeless man, about consequences. And you're right, what I did was wrong. I've always known it was wrong, but I didn't know how to fix it. You can't fix it. You can only face it. I know. So I'm asking you, what do you want me to do? Turn myself in? Confess? Face prison? I want you to tell me why, really why. Not survival, not fear, but the real reason you chose this path. Michael took a deep breath. Because I was weak. Because I couldn't face who I'd become. Because admitting I had a drug problem meant admitting I'd failed. Failed myself. Failed you. Failed Mom. Failed everyone. And I couldn't handle that shame. So you ran. So I ran, and I kept running. And I'm still running, even now. Even with this new life. I'm running from the truth, from Michael Bennett, from the man I was, and the crimes I committed. Do you want to stop running? I don't know. Part of me does. Part of me wants to face it, confess, take whatever punishment comes, clear my conscience. But the other part is terrified, of prison, of losing Amy, of losing this life I've built. That life is built on lies. It'll collapse eventually. Better to tear it down yourself than wait for it to crumble. Is that what you want me to do? Confess? I looked at my son, really looked at him. Saw the fear, the shame, the desperate hope that I'd save him again, that I'd choose protection over truth. But I also saw the coward, the manipulator, the man who'd let his father grieve unnecessarily, who'd used a dead man's body without remorse, who'd built a life on fraud. I want you to do what's right, I said. Not what's easy, not what's safe, what's right. And if I don't know what's right, then I'll show you. I pulled out my phone, called Detective Hayes. Linda, it's Arthur. I'm ready to make a full report. Michael's face went white. Claire gasped. Wait, Michael said. Dad, please, don't do this. I held up a hand. Linda, I need to report a fraud. Multiple frauds. Insurance fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. I have evidence, witnesses, everything you need. Arthur, no. Claire grabbed my phone, tried to take it. I held firm. I'll email you the details within the hour, the location of the suspect, the names of everyone involved, all of it. We'll send officers immediately. Thank you for doing the right thing, Arthur. I hung up, looked at my son, my wife, both staring at me with horror and betrayal. You turned me in, Michael whispered. Your own son. You actually did it. I chose truth. I chose justice. I chose the unnamed man in your grave who deserves his identity back. I chose principle over protection. I'm going to prison for years because of you. No, you're going to prison because of you, because of choices you made, crimes you committed. I'm just not protecting you from the consequences anymore. Claire was crying. You destroyed our family. Our family was already destroyed. I just stopped pretending it wasn't. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. The Phoenix police responding to Linda's call. You have a choice, I told Michael. You can run, try to disappear again, live the rest of your life hiding. Or you can stay. Face this. Take responsibility. Start the real healing. Some choice. It's more choice than you gave that homeless man. More choice than you gave me when you let me grieve. It's the choice you should have made 3 years ago. The sirens got louder, stopped outside, car doors slamming, footsteps approaching. Michael stood. I hate you for this. I know, but someday, maybe you'll understand. Maybe you'll thank me for forcing you to face truth. Or maybe you'll hate me forever. Either way, I can live with it, because I chose right over easy. The doorbell rang. Michael opened it. Phoenix police, detective badges, serious faces. Brian Matthews, also known as Michael Bennett, we have a warrant for your arrest." Michael held out his wrists. They handcuffed him, read him his rights, led him to the car. Claire followed. "I'm coming with you. I was part of it. Arrest me too." "Ma'am, we'll need to question you. Please come to the station voluntarily." "I will. I'll confess to everything. Just don't take him alone. Please." They put Michael in the car, drove away. Claire got in our rental, followed them. I stood in Michael's living room, empty, quiet, the life he'd built about to collapse. Amy would come home to find her boyfriend gone, arrested, his entire identity a lie. She'd be devastated, betrayed, another victim of Michael's choices. I felt no satisfaction, no triumph, just exhaustion. And the cold certainty that I'd done what had to be done. I drove back to the hotel, packed our things. Claire wouldn't need them. She'd be in police custody, giving statements, probably being charged. I started the long drive home, alone. 16 hours to process what I'd done, what I'd lost, what I'd chosen. My son would go to prison. My wife would face charges. My family was destroyed. But the truth was out. Justice would be served. The homeless man would get his name back. His grave would be corrected. His family, if they existed, would get closure. And I would live with my choice, for better or worse, in principle and in pain. A father who'd turned in his own son. A husband who'd let his wife face consequences. A man who'd chosen truth over everything else. I didn't know if I'd made the right choice. Maybe I'd never know. But I knew I'd made an honest choice, a principled choice, a choice I could live with. And sometimes that's all you can ask for. 6 months later, I sat in a courtroom and watched my son get sentenced. Michael had pleaded guilty to all charges: insurance fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, use of a corpse, everything. Claire had pleaded guilty too. Sat beside Michael at the defense table, looking small, broken, old. Thomas had been arrested a week after Michael, faced additional charges for his role: abuse of his position as medical examiner, falsifying death certificates, profiting from fraud. All three had pleaded guilty. Their lawyers argued for leniency, for mercy, for understanding. The judge wasn't interested in mercy. "You three conspired to commit fraud on a massive scale," Judge Morrison said. "You used a dead man's body without dignity or respect. You lied to insurance companies, to law enforcement, to family. You committed crimes that strike at the foundation of our justice system. Michael Bennett, you are sentenced to 8 years in federal prison." Michael didn't react, just sat there, accepting, defeated. "Claire Bennett, you are sentenced to 5 years in federal prison." Claire started crying, quiet tears, the weight of consequences finally real. "Thomas Wright, you are sentenced to 12 years in federal prison and permanent revocation of your medical license." Thomas looked shocked, like he'd expected less, expected his position to protect him. It hadn't. "Additionally," the judge continued, "you are jointly liable for restitution to the insurance company, $500,000 plus interest and penalties. Total amount, $630,000. The financial ruin would be complete. They'd lose everything: homes, savings, future, all of it gone. Finally, I'm ordering that the grave currently marked Michael Bennett be exhumed. The body will be properly identified if possible, given its rightful name. If identity cannot be determined, the grave will be marked Unknown Man, with a date and acknowledgement of dignity." That part satisfied me. The homeless man would get some measure of respect, some acknowledgement that he mattered, that he existed, that he deserved better than being used as a prop. After sentencing, I was allowed brief contact with Claire. She looked at me through the glass partition, phone to her ear. "Are you happy now?" she asked, bitter, angry. "You got what you wanted. We're all going to prison." I wanted truth. I got truth. The fact that truth led to prison isn't my fault. You destroyed our family. Our family destroyed itself. I just stopped enabling the destruction. I'll never forgive you for this. I don't need your forgiveness. I need to live with myself. And I can. Can you? She hung up. Guards led her away. To processing, to prison, to 5 years of consequences. Michael asked to see me. I almost said no, but some part of me needed closure. He sat across from me. Orange jumpsuit, defeated posture, broken. "I've been doing therapy," he said. "In jail, mandatory for addicts. It's helping, making me face things I've avoided my whole life." That's good. The therapist says I have patterns of running from consequences, of choosing easy over right, of blaming others for my choices. She says I learned it young, that Mom enabled it, that you enabled it too by always fixing my problems. Maybe, probably. Parents make mistakes. But you stopped. You stopped enabling, stopped protecting. You chose truth over me. And you know what? I'm glad you did. I looked at him, surprised. You're glad? I'm 8 years away from freedom, but for the first time in my life, I'm not running. I'm facing what I did, accepting responsibility, growing up, finally. At 35 years old, I'm finally becoming a man. I'm proud of you for that. Are you? Or do you just feel justified in your choice? Both. I'm proud you're facing this. And yes, I feel justified. What you did was wrong. You needed to face consequences. Even if it meant destroying Mom, she's 68 years old, Dad. 5 years in prison might kill her. That was her choice. She helped you. She committed crimes. She faces consequences. That's how justice works. Cold. You've become so cold. I've become honest. There's a difference. We sat in silence, father and son, separated by glass and choices and years of lies. "What about the homeless man?" Michael asked. "Did they identify him?" "Yes. DNA matched to a missing person report from 3 years ago. His name was Robert Chen, 47 years old. Had a sister in California. She'd been looking for him, wondering what happened. Now she knows. Now she can grieve properly. I'm glad. I mean that. I'm glad he got his name back, that his sister got closure. Are you? Or are you just saying what you think I want to hear? Both. I genuinely feel guilty about using him, about disrespecting him. But I also want you to see I'm changing, that I'm not the same coward who faked his death. Time will tell. 8 years is a long time to prove yourself. Will you visit me? In prison? The question hung between us, heavy, complicated, loaded with history and hurt and hope. I don't know, I said honestly. Ask me in a year, after you've spent time in therapy, after you've proven you're serious about change. Then maybe. Fair enough. Guards came to take him away, back to his cell, to begin his 8-year sentence. "Dad?" he called as they led him away. "Thank you for doing the hard thing, the right thing, even though it hurt." I nodded. Couldn't speak. Emotion closing my throat. My son was going to prison, but for the first time in years, he was facing truth, accepting responsibility, growing. Maybe I'd done the right thing after all. I drove home alone. The house felt empty. No Claire, no Michael, just me and my principles and my choices. The community had opinions. Half thought I was a hero, a man of integrity who'd chosen truth over corruption. The other half thought I was a monster, a father who'd betrayed his own son, a husband who'd sent his wife to prison. I didn't care about their opinions. I cared about the truth, about justice, about honoring the man who'd been buried under the wrong name. Robert Chen's sister contacted me. We met for coffee. "Thank you," she said, tears in her eyes. "I've been searching for Bobby for 3 years, wondering if he was alive, if he was suffering, if I'd failed him. Now I know. Now I can say goodbye properly. I'm sorry for what my family did. Using your brother that way. Your family didn't use him, your son did, and you stopped it. You gave Bobby his dignity back, his name back, his identity. That's a gift I never expected to receive. What will you do now? I'm having his body moved to a cemetery near my home. I'll visit him, tell him about his nieces, about the life he missed. I'll make sure he's remembered. Properly. Honestly. He deserves that. We all do. We all deserve to be remembered as who we really were, not as convenient lies for someone else's benefit." After she left, I sat in the quiet coffee shop and thought about identity, about truth, about the cost of lies and the value of honesty. I'd lost my family. My son was in prison. My wife, too. My marriage was effectively over. I'd spend the rest of my life alone. But I'd gained something too. Self-respect. The knowledge that when faced with an impossible choice, I'd chosen right over easy, truth over comfort, justice over protection. And I could live with that, would live with that, for however many years I had left. 1 year later, I visited Michael in prison. First time since sentencing. He'd requested the visit, said he had things to tell me. He looked different, healthier somehow, clearer, like prison had stripped away the lies and left something more real. "Thank you for coming," he said through the phone. "I wasn't sure you would. You asked. I'm here. What did you want to tell me?" "I'm 9 months sober, longest I've been clean in a decade. I'm working in the prison library, taking college courses, learning to be honest, really honest, for the first time in my life." "That's good." I wrote a letter to Robert Chen's sister, apologizing, taking full responsibility, telling her I'm sorry for what I did to her brother. I asked the warden to send it. He said he would. Did she respond? Yes. She said she forgives me, that Bobby wouldn't want her to carry hate, that she hopes I use this time to become better. Will you? Become better? I'm trying, every day. It's hard. Prison is hard. But I'm facing it, not running, not hiding, actually dealing with who I am and what I've done. I'm proud of you. Are you? Really? Or are you just being polite? Really? Change is hard. Facing truth is hard. You're doing both. That takes courage. I learned it from you, watching you choose truth over me, choose principle over family. It destroyed me at first, made me hate you. But then I realized you were teaching me, showing me what real strength looks like. I wasn't trying to teach you. I was trying to do what was right. I know, but I learned anyway, that sometimes love means letting people face consequences, that sometimes the kindest thing is the hardest thing, that truth matters more than comfort. We talked for an hour about his classes, his therapy, his plans for when he got out, his hope to rebuild something real when he was finally free. When visiting time ended, Michael said one more thing. Mom blames you. She's angry, bitter. She says she'll never forgive you. I know. But I forgive you for everything, for turning me in, for choosing truth, for doing what I couldn't do myself. I forgive you, and I thank you. You're welcome. I drove home with tears in my eyes, not from sadness, from hope, from the realization that my son was becoming the man I'd always hoped he'd be. It had just taken prison and consequences, and 8 years away from the lies to get there. Thank you for watching this story. If it reminded you that truth matters, that consequences teach, that sometimes the most loving thing is the hardest thing, please share it. Subscribe to Elder Justice Revenge Stories for more real-life emotional stories that prove integrity never goes out of style. Truth always matters, and sometimes the greatest act of love is refusing to enable the people we love. Hit that notification bell. Remember, when you discover unbearable truth, you have a choice. Hide it and become complicit, or expose it and face the consequences. Choose truth, always, even when it costs you everything. Because living with integrity is worth more than living with comfortable lies. Truth will set you free, but first, it will break your heart.